Well, I think two things that I hear in there, right? One is a lot of people, myself included, never grew up learning or even hearing about this, right?
Right.
That's number one. And the second thing is there is likely a perception by lots of people, including wealthy and affluent people, that you need $1 billion to do this.
Not a chance.
And so that's my question is because you said you started in 2008 and it
Yeah.
was whatever the premiums were that you paid on that initial policy, and now you've got a much bigger aquarium, and so you're funding a much bigger set of policies,
That's right.
61 policies I think you said.
That's right.
Um, so who's this for, and how does someone start? Obviously by calling you, but in terms of who's it for, and how does Don Cooper start with the very first day saying, Jayson Lowe, I want to participate in this. What's day one?
No, it's thank you for asking that. So first and foremost, you don't have to be rich to get into the banking business. We have clients that deposit as little as $100 a month for policies on their children, and we have clients that put in multi six figures per month. If you're somewhere in between those two numbers, you can do this. And the first thing that I would implore anybody to do, get your hands on a copy of R. Nelson Nash's book titled Becoming Your Own Banker. Again, that's Becoming Your Own Banker. If you just head on over to ascendantfinancial.ca/shop, that's ascendantfinancial.ca/shop, you can get a copy. We will courier that copy to you. It's a 92-page read. You can get it done in an afternoon, and it will open your eyes up to this entirely new financial world. And if it resonates and you're thinking, okay, I'd like for Jayson and his team to meet with me and to help me understand how this can work for me, then the next step would be to create a time. I'll make sure that you're connected with the right person on my team. We'll lead you through a process of determining how this process can really work well for you, whether or not we establish a basis to work together, because we're the buyer in the transaction, not the seller. And Don, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
There has to be a great fit there. It has to feel good for both of us, but ultimately we're the ones that are going to make the buying decision as to whether or not we have a basis to work together. Presuming that we do, then we would apply to get the first policy or the system of policies in place. But throughout that whole process, you're not binded or committed to anything at all. There's no out-of-pocket expense. It's just an investment of your time to go through the process. And if you ultimately end up getting approved for the policies, you still have the privilege of saying no thanks. Presuming that you want to implement this and we proceed to that step, then we have ongoing coaching and mentoring that is simply, and I don't say this to brag, it is unmatched in the industry. We have group quarterly client coaching sessions. We have an online client access portal so that you can consume the learning, the resources, the paint by numbers on how to access a policy loan, how to track it, how to repay it, all the fundamental steps in the process we have archived in our client portal. So if you get inspired and it's Saturday at 12 midnight, you don't have to wait till Monday for our team to be available. Just hop into your client portal and away you go. And so much more in terms of the resources and the support and the service that we provide. And you get access to our entire team. And so we bring all our resources to bear, to make sure that you have a great experience with this. But the key is that this is all about becoming your own banker.
Right.
We're not trying to develop a tribe of dependent people. We
Right.
want you to become independent and learn how to do this process just like I did. And we'll coach you on how to do it as well. And you do not have to be rich to do this. I don't care if you're making $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour. Once you see this, there's no undoing it. You have an obligation at that point to change and to do things differently that are going to be much more advantageous for your family, for your business. So if you're not an established entrepreneur, if you're a family man or a family woman, this is for you. This process will work for you because you need the use of money and it has to flow. Just change the flow, for heaven's sakes. Get it flowing back to you versus away.
got 1,000 things going on in my head as I think about this.
The hamster's running full tilt.
I'm a ideation guy, so my brain never stops thinking, and I'm just I've got two businesses and my family and my extended family, and I've got some of the vehicles we own are cash, and some of them I think are financed, and I own about 50 vehicles in the companies, and I've got operating lines, and I've got debt in those businesses, and I've got I've got cash value in operating accounts. There's money moving in from probably 10 different bank accounts and different debt facilities and lease facilities. I'm trying
But
to
who's
think
got
about
all the money right now?
well, every single dollar except
Everyone else but you.
I always chuckle, right? You know who has the most cash in my house?
Ooh.
My 8-year-old. and the reason is we live in a digital world, so it's debit cards and credit cards and wire transfers and PayPals and all that stuff. I mean, it's very rare for me to actually have money.
Right.
But when I do have money, if we go out and like just last week, I took a week of free days because my daughter had midterm break, right? So I just took the week off and we did family fun stuff all last week, including going to some daytime movies and brunches and going to play. And we were at West Edmonton Mall movie theater, and then we went and played arcade games and all that stuff. And so during some of that stuff, it just makes sense to have some cash, right? So I remember a few times having, taken $200 or $300 cash and having it in my wallet, and we're using it for those fun transactions. And some of it has given my daughter some money once in a while for her to go and buy something, herself. But she has become a very savvy acquirer of cash because somewhere along the way, a few years back when she was a little bit younger, when I was coming home and if I emptied my pockets and there were coins, she's like, "Dad, can I have those?" And we'd have all these little piggy banks for her. And over the course of a little period of time, she, crazily enough, she acquired several $1,000s worth of coins. and now today, if I have cash, if it's a loonie or a toonie or a quarter or a dime or a nickel, she said, "Is that mine, Dad? As long as you put it in the bank." And so she has more cash than me. But the point is that when I think about my businesses and all of the cash that's always flowing, including the bank balances that are sitting, there's a lot flowing there. And my questions are like, how do I, and everyone has their own circumstances. How do you do all of that with your businesses, or what parts of your business can you use this for? What parts can you not use it for?
There's not a part that you wouldn't be able to use it for, because this is all about money and the flow. And more importantly,
so can you use this in your operating accounts and things like that, where your money is coming in and out all the time?
Oh, definitely. And
it's not just about access to capital for debt, like buying a vehicle or making an investment. This is whatever you need it for.
This is a cash flow management system. And when you're working in business, especially, so I'll give you an example, like in our company. So in the Lowe family group of companies, there are 7 different businesses. Right. And we take a look each quarter as to how much operating capital do we need to make the businesses function. Yep. The supply source of that capital is now the insurance company's money. Right. Our corporate aquariums are going up every day, no matter what. And then the revenue that's produced over that quarterly time frame flows right back into our system versus flowing away. Mm-hmm. And we get to reuse capital and create velocity and momentum and volume, no different than a bank does, except that we are now all 4 characters in that financial play. Think about it for a second. You've got the depositor, the borrower, the banker, and the bank owner. For all of your viewers and listeners, and perhaps even yourself included, you're only the depositor and the borrower. So you're only 2 of the financial characters in the play. But when you become the banker by having this dividend paying participating whole life insurance policy or a system of policies, you control access to the money pool.
Hmm.
And when you become the bank owner, you receive a divisible share of the surplus generated by the company that you co-own. Now,
Right.
which character in the play do you think is the one who makes the most money?
Well, we all know that answer.
Right? So you
Right?
got to become
All you have to do to know the answer to that is to listen to quarterly earnings reports of any bank, even in the middle of the pandemic.
Yep,
They were making boatloads of cash.
you got it. And
Right?
my heart
The
goes out.
banking industry did not have a lockdown.
Hey, isn't it interesting that in the lowest interest rate environment that we've been in for years, since interest rates have been measured, that banks are making record profits?
Mhm.
And the reason is that it's not about the rate, Don. It's about the volume,
Yeah.
because there's borrowers lining up from here to the Edmonton International Airport to borrow. And
Yeah.
banks cannot lend money unless they have depositors who
To back it.
leave money at the bank.
Yeah.
So think about this. It's a process. It's not a product.
Right.
Everybody banks. You
Mhm.
just got to take control of that function as it relates to your needs. I'll share this with you. This will get your listeners really get their imaginations working on, okay, maybe this could work for me. And I'm quite curious to see how that could be. When I moved back to Leduc, Alberta, just south of Edmonton, in April of 2008, you could still get 40-year amortizations on a mortgage at that time. So my wife, Rebecca, and I, we moved into a home and we took a 40-year amortization. This was before I was introduced to this process in July of that same year. And so I thought, man, I got a great rate. It was like 2.6%. It was phenomenal. And I'm thinking, all right, I got a great rate. I got a low payment. This is fantastic. I knew that I wanted to get rid of the bank sooner. I just didn't know how. But instinctively, intuitively, I was financially motivated to get rid of the bank sooner. So in July of that same year, when I was introduced to this process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, and Rebecca and I began to implement it in our lives, the beginning was putting money into policies in the form of premium. That's the only ticket to entry. You can't become a co-owner of this life insurance company unless you are a policy owner. That's the only ticket to entry. So
Yep.
we're putting premiums in, our aquarium's filling up. One time per year, we look inside the aquarium and go, hey, how much is piled up in there? Then we go to the insurance company, access policy loans, take the insurance company's money down to the bank and apply that directly to the principal balance of the mortgage. But we're still making the same mortgage payment every month, except
Right.
every mortgage payment is becoming more financially valuable to Rebecca and I because more of that payment's going toward principal.
Yep.
It took us 7 years to wave bye-bye to the commercial bank, or the snakes and dragons, as R. Nelson Nash used to say. God rest his soul. I miss him and think about him every single day. And I called him. He was the first person I called. And I said, Nelson, we got rid of the bank. And he said, not so fast, son. Pump the brakes. You committed to making a payment to someone else's bank for 40 years, didn't you? Well, you're going to follow through on that commitment. You're just going to change the process of who's getting the money now.
Right.
So don't celebrate too quickly. You've got a loan schedule to refinish or to finish completely. And so that payment that we would have still been otherwise obligated to send to someone else's bank is now flowing back to our own system versus flowing away from us. Now, do you think that increases our margin of safety or decreases it?
I think it increases your
All day
safety.
long. And does it increase my peace of mind or add stress?
Well, you're filling your own aquarium on a
That's
regular
right.
basis.
So the only difference between whether or not you're stressed or relaxed financially is who controls the banking function in your life. So if you're listening to this or watching this, ask yourself this question: who is the banker in my life today?
Yeah.
It can and it should be you, but you need to understand the problem. Otherwise, the solution just won't matter to you. If I just started off in your program and said, Don, you got to buy a whole bunch of life insurance, you would have been like, what? For what? Why? I'm going to live a long time. I don't want to be worth more dead than I am alive. The insurance policy or the system of policies is just the tool that enables you to implement the process. And if you put the best tool for the job in the hands of someone who's incompetent, not only are they not going to turn out any good work with the tool, they're likely going to break the damn tool.
Yep.
So that's why you need a good coach. All of my team members practice what we teach. You would not be interacting with a single person in my organization who doesn't do this in their own lives. Isn't that good?
That's fantastic. I just keep thinking about my quick start says, how fast can I do this?
Oh yeah, that's
for all aspects of my life, because this makes so much sense to me, and you were able to articulate that in such a simple way. And you're in strategic coach, right?
I sure am. Dan Sullivan's 10X Ambition program. You bet.
Yeah. So I'm in the same program. I don't think we're in the same group, but in that structure, have you figured out are you a simplifier or a multiplier?
I'm a multiplier.
You're a multiplier, but you've got a team of simplifiers.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm a multiplier as well, and I'm constantly looking for simplifiers, in my life so that I can multiply my ideas, because I've got lots of different ideas of how I want to help my target audience, my clients, and who I want to be a hero to. And simplifiers for multipliers are like fuel, right? They're like octane,
rocket fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
You bet.
What's your Colby?
I am an 8453, but I do have high quick start tendencies. So it's quite interesting, dependent upon, because my fact find can compete with my high quick start tendencies. If I'm in a really comfortable setting, then my fact find is diminished somewhat, and my quick start tendencies kick in, and poof, away I go.
Well, I'm a Colby consultant, right? I just kind of decided to dive in and really learn it, and then I figured out how I could help people with it. And I'm also I've gone through all the workshops and the training with Dr. BJ Fogg. And the interesting thing about Fogg's behavior design and Colby, if you kind of at its highest level, the Colby creative process and how you leverage your instincts starts with motivation.
Right.
You need to be, so the reason that you can override your instinct for fact finder is if you're motivated, you're only going to lean into your fact finder if you're motivated to look for more details.
Right. That's right.
Right. And so that's why you can, with your accommodating fact find quick start, that starts to be more predominant, because if you have no motivation to want to dive into all the details because you've got a strong team who are going to take care of that, then you can actually not have to lean in with so much mental energy to dive into the details. And that comes from having a great team. It comes from having people that you trust.
Yep.
And surrounding yourself with that group of people who have stronger, who have the unique abilities, so that you can lean into yours. And so the more that you lean into unique ability teamwork, which we're familiar with, the more that you can only focus your fact finder where you're motivated to do so.
Totally.
And that's why your quick start can take more front stage. And I'm a 7-4, 7-3, so my fact finder and quick start are always competing with each other, except from a motivation standpoint. And so a great example, I'm a front stage guy. I care about sales, marketing, operations, and taking care of customers.
Me
and
too.
Finding new customers that I can help.
Yep.
I don't care about backstage. Sorry, wrong language. I care about other people making sure that all the backstage activities is done.
Yeah.
I don't have a need to dive into the details. As a matter of fact, when it comes to the backstage parts of my business and my team, even though I'm a 7 fact finder, I simply want the bottom line. Give me your recommendation so I can say yes or no and we can move on.
All day long.
Right? I don't, and it's some of my team, particularly team members who join, who happen to be, in the finance team or the IT team and some of those other backstage really important functions. they tend to be high fact finders. They tend to need to share information, and they really don't know how to interact with me at first, because I was like, if I can't read what you want me to answer you on this phone, and I don't have to scroll, then don't send me the email, because I'd rather just discuss it. And when we do discuss it, I'm probably just going to say, give me the bottom line. If I want more information, I expect you to have it, but I don't want it to be able to make a decision.
Gosh, we could switch positions in our businesses and nobody would know the difference.
Well, and we both are so damn good looking, and
Hey, all right, there you go. Huh?
well, I don't know who said it, but we were in one of Joe's groups in June or July, and we happened to be, I think, in the same breakout room, and people looked at us and said, "Are you guys brothers?"
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if we're brothers, but we're both damn good looking. I mean, obviously,
hey,
listeners, we're just kidding, but it's just one of those personal connections that I think that's how we made a connection. That people thought that we looked alike.
Yeah, totally.
But and people who are on my team who get that, who understand that on the backstage part of my businesses, just take care of it. I want you to free me up so I can do what I do best, and you'll be really successful if I don't have to be involved. And to the degree that you try to suck me in is to the degree of which we're going to be successful working together or not. When it comes to backstage functionality, front stage functionality, I love to get in there and figure out, how are we going to help clients? How are we going to find clients? How are we going to talk to clients? How are we going to deliver great value for clients? I mean, that's all businesses are about clients, right? At the end of the day, right? I mean, customers have, businesses exist because customers have problems, and our business exists to solve certain problems. That's the whole only reason any enterprise exists, in my view. That might be different if you're in some sort of public corporate business that people think that they exist for stock price, but that's not an entrepreneurial enterprise. So
totally. And I'll say
different operating methodology.
One of my I love hockey. I've loved hockey since I was a fetus, and the Edmonton Oilers, should be no surprise, is my favorite NHL team, and Mark Messier is my all-time favorite Edmonton Oiler, and he just released his book recently titled "No One Wins Alone."
Yes.
And teamwork, firstly, having a great team of people is just so important. And I know that goes without saying. I mean, you could have a great team of people, but if you're not business effective, or you're not a great leader, then you won't have a great team of people for very long. And if everyone can buy into the truth, the fundamental truth that nobody wins alone, you can really, really, truly go far together. And I have an unshakable passion and caring and love for my teammates. And I'll never ask them to do anything that I haven't demonstrated can be done. And I'll tell you, your people can pick up on that in a real hurry if that's coming from a place of integrity and authenticity, and that you just don't allow any deviation.
I see you living it, right? I mean, and I don't actually know exactly what this business is, but I know you've got an Amazon delivery based business.
We do, yeah.
I don't know if you're selling your own stuff or what you're doing there, but what I did witness is there was a big push for deliveries, and you were on the line helping your team package products.
You bet.
And and that speaks to the volume of your commitment to leading by example and letting your team know that you'll be in the trenches with them, when push comes to shove, that you're not
whenever they need.
You're not sitting back saying, hurry up and get that out the door.
Not a chance. And, it's mobilizing your team. It really strengthens the entire team as a whole when they know that there's no job in the organization that's beneath you, that you'll pitch in, you'll jump in, you'll dive in. That company, Canada Prep and Ship, which is entirely unrelated to Ascendant Financial, entirely unrelated to any of our other companies, that business was born out of solving a problem, which entrepreneurs get drawn like a magnet to. Hey, there's a problem here. I think we can come up with a solution. And we took something from a really low level of productivity, increased it to a much higher level of productivity, built a great team, multiplied sales, multiplied profit, multiplied team satisfaction, and gave people an opportunity to grow and to learn. And that's what I'm fascinated by in business. It doesn't matter to
Yeah.
me if it's packing and prepping and getting products shipped to Amazon for fulfillment, or if it's sitting down and having a conversation about becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept. We're solving a problem.
Solving a problem, you find the right who's, they bring the right hows,
You got it.
and you focus on solving the problem by increasing the value of however it was done before,
You got it.
right?
Do it
Um,
faster, better, cheaper, deliver great service
Fantastic.
every day in every way.
I am even more fascinated and intrigued, so much so that I'm going to go onto your website and get my own copy of this book as soon as we
Oh,
finish
thank you.
recording, because I can, depending on who you are, but everyone out there, you may just borrow $500 for your first brick card or whatever the heck it is, right? Or you might be borrowing millions of dollars and have dozens of vehicles and buildings and credit cards and mortgages, and there's just an awful lot of cash moving in and out of your life, and all of it, the you got to the whole concept is, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, is you better have great relationships with your bankers if you want to be able to grow. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with bankers, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind dealing with myself.
Yeah. Who do you think more than yourself?
Yeah.
And when you think about this, again, there are no exceptions. Someone must perform this function as it relates to your needs. And it
Hmm.
should be you. But again,
I'm assuming,
knowing that
just
you're super high quick start,
yeah.
it happens incrementally. It happens over a period.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, my brain goes to how do I create this aquarium to be $10 million so I can do a lot of stuff with it as fast as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, in real high level concept, the amount that you can use in the size of your bank is determined by how much you're putting in the aquarium and how big the values of the insurance policies are that
Don, you got
create
it.
the balance over time, right?
You got it. Because when you go to the bank, you say, "Hey, listen, I got this account here. I need to access." Well, the teller is going to ask you, "Well, how much did you put in?" The difference
Yeah.
with the policy is the aquarium is going to accumulate far more than you put in. Way
Right.
more.
Yeah.
And so it's, reading Nelson's book, making sure that you connect with my team. I'll make sure that you're now, Don, for yourself. And I wouldn't want to overextend myself to all of your listeners and viewers, but for you, as a favor to you, of course, I'm going to be meeting with you.
Well,
And
I'll find you.
you exactly.
I I know where you hang out.
You'll get connected, with the right person on my team. There will be absolutely nothing other than making sure that you get to clarity, that your questions are answered, and that's what we encourage people to do. And there won't be anybody backing you into a corner, twisting your arm, or trying to reach into your pocket for money. That's not how we do business. Never has been, never will be. And if you check out any of the hundreds of 5-star Google reviews on our organization, you'll hear from clients firsthand as to what their experience is like working with us. And that's right from the horse's mouth. And we also do a great client series on our Wealth Without Bay Street podcast, where we interview existing clients who share their journey with this process. What better, source to hear it from than directly from people who are implementing it in their own lives? And the Wealth Without Bay Street podcast is something that we would encourage your listeners and viewers to subscribe to and tune into, because we pump out new content every single week, literally.
Fantastic. Any final thoughts, Jason, on anything you think the listeners should think about? That maybe we've provided them with a lot of information. Is there a mindset shift or a particular piece of insight that will help them pivot? Because this is definitely a total paradigm shift in the way people think about money and banking.
For sure. What I would say, Don, in response to that is that the longer you wait, the more you penalize yourself. And it's completely unnecessary. And, when you go through life, you've heard that, hey, you don't want to live a life of regret. Well, don't regret at least not investigating this. Because now that you've heard what you and I have talked about in this episode, I think it would be really awful if a person didn't say, hey, I'm at least going to investigate this. Because I promise you, once you catch this, and it's more caught than it is taught, once you catch this, you'll know exactly what to do.
Yeah, and for everyone out there, and me included, I remember reading a book a long time ago. It was called Wealth Without Risk for Canadians by a guy by the name of Charles Givens, I think he wrote. And in there, he wrote a chapter telling people never to buy whole life because it's too expensive. Just buy term life insurance. Just buy term life insurance because it's the least expensive insurance for the death benefit.
Right.
And that might be true, except that whole life insurance in this concept is the tool, and it also has the death benefit.
You got it. And think about this. If you can get $1 million of death benefit for $25 a month for a 10-year term,
mm-hmm.
Do you think the insurance company believes you're going to die during that 10-year window?
No, it's free money for them.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
That would be terrible business for them to sell you so much of a promise to pay that much money.
They have actuarial tables that look at their risk. Plus, depending on where you are, they test you. And I mean, I've gone through those tests, the physicals, the blood work, and all that stuff for some of the policies that I have in my life. And when they give you your tables on when you're going to pay, when you hit my age compared to 10 years ago, and then 10 years from now, you can start to see their plan for getting more money out of you because they know that the risk profile based on age accelerates, right?
You got it.
So there is at no point in time where an insurance company is betting against themselves.
That's the key right there. You said it. You hit the nail right on the head. And you cannot solve a permanent problem with a temporary solution.
That's right.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yep.
Thanks for having me, Don. It was a pleasure.
Listen, buddy, this was fantastic. I learned a lot. I'm actually really intrigued. I love learning new things, but I really love learning new things that can really change my own paradigm on how I do a lot of things in my life, and this is definitely one of them.
Awesome.
And what I love about this, and I didn't know the answer, because I wrote down a question: who's this for? Is this for an entrepreneur who has a lot of moving parts, or is this for a 21-year-old kid who can only afford $100 a month? And the answer to both questions is yes.
Yeah, you got it.
Fantastic. Jayson, thanks for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure. Glad to be with you.